There he goes.
That's the show for today, folks. Thanks for coming.
That's the show for today, folks. 15 seconds.
Special content, t-shirts, hats, coffee, cakes, and gear. You also get...
Okay. No, don't do that to me. He's in there right now. Come on, go. Oh, come on. How did I know that was going to happen at the last second? Stand by. Okay, here we go. Go. Here we go. I'm going to have you muted for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Liberty One TV this evening for the special broadcast on Pete Santilli. I'm host of the Pete Santilli Show. And we have a special report. I'm calling it an exclusive because I haven't seen him do very many interviews. His name is Jason Goodman. He's an investigative journalist extraordinaire. You'll be hearing from him here momentarily, but he's also an internationally acclaimed filmmaker and stereoscopic cinematographer. A little over a year ago, he left the world of Hollywood to pursue independent journalism, creating Crowdsource the Truth. Crowdsource the Truth combines the inquisitive nature of investigative journalism with powerful interactivity of social media and the cinema verite aspects of reality television. Demanding truth in media and integrity in government, Crowdsource the Truth is a community-sponsored news source that goes places and asks questions, and you're going to hear some of them. Ask questions that corporate-controlled, advertiser-driven media simply cannot go. We pride ourselves in that same spirit, and that's why I like Jason so much. But recently, we had a report that has pretty much gone viral. Everybody's really interested in this Imran Awan, the mysterious Pakistani man from, I believe, the ISI, the intelligence services in Pakistan. But I welcome to the show for this special 1-hour broadcast, Jason Goodman. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on and talk to me.
Pete, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Hey, it's great to have you. So Jason, this article, I picked it up on Zero Hedge. As you know, I follow your channel. I'm very intrigued by the work that you do. A lot of investigative projects you've been working on, but this particular one, you're telling me you've been working for almost 2 years now to uncover this Imran Awan. This recent report, Imran Awan, why is he working at his Clinton-linked attorney's law firm? Can you tell me I would say, how far back do you go in chasing this guy down, and give us a breakdown of who this Imran Awan is for those people that just don't know?
Sure. Well, I first became aware of Imran Awan from watching George Webb's YouTube channel. And for a while I was working with George. We've parted ways now, and I've got my way of kind of doing the investigation, and other people have their own way. I became really super interested in Imran's lawyer when a press release came out, maybe back in I don't remember, it was like October of 2017, something like that. And maybe prior, might have been in the summer of 2017. And it just said there was nothing wrong, and that this was Islamophobia, and that the Pizzagate media was causing this reaction to Imran Awan. So it was just like littered with crazy nonsense. And I wanted to call the lawyer's office to ask some legitimate questions.
Hey, Jason, if you could, as you know, sometimes we have it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
I just got word that that it's not broadcasting now, so stand by. Okay?
Oh my, no problem.
Hold on just 1 second.
No
okay?
problem. Sure.
We may have to kick this back off again because
No problem.
Is it true? Is it not broadcasting right now? Okay.
We should tell everyone we're doing a simulcast, so people who are watching.
So welcome those watching on your channel. Here we go. Let's try. Unable. Let's see what we have. And we should be good here momentarily. Just let me know when it comes through. Oh, I can't believe that didn't.
No,
that didn't
don't
come
worry
on.
about it.
Yep.
I recognize the complexities of these.
Not just the complexities, but sometimes
The
those
gremlins.
pop. Don't. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. Okay, how are we doing?
We're live on Crowdsource.
Okay, hold on a second. Talking to Deb, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Just for those people who are watching on 21st Century 3D and periscope.tv/CS The Truth, we're doing a simulcast with the Pete Santilli Show, and I'm Pete's guest tonight, so we're just going to be starting in a minute here. How's everybody doing? Good to see everyone.
Huh? We good now?
Yep.
Is it going? Okay, here we go. Lit up. All right, here we go. Just a couple minutes out. I was thinking that maybe the gremlins on the backside were actually stopping us, but this is a special broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Liberty One News, liberty1tv.com. Wait for us to get in. Ladies and gentlemen, this special broadcast is with a investigative journalist that I told you about. His name is Jason Goodman. We actually ran a report and discussed it on the Pete Santilli Show. I am host of the Pete Santilli Show. That report titled, "Why Does Imran Awan Work at His Clinton-Linked Attorney's Law Firm?" Jason Goodman has actually been pursuing, as an investigative journalist, this story with Imran Awan for the better part of 2 years. You're going to hear about that history. But Jason Goodman is an internationally acclaimed filmmaker and a stereoscopic cinematographer. A little over a year ago, he left the world of Hollywood to pursue independent journalism, creating Crowdsource The Truth. Crowdsource The Truth combines the inquisitive nature of investigative journalism with the powerful interactivity of social media and the cinema verite aspects of reality television, if I've pronounced that correctly. But demanding truth in media and integrity in government, Crowdsource The Truth is a community-sponsored news source that goes places and asks questions. And you're going to hear some of these questions that he's been asking of some people. I actually have some great clips that I want to share with you. But asking questions of corporate-controlled, advertiser-driven media where they simply cannot go. I welcome to the show Mr. Jason Goodman. Thank you very much for your patience and getting us off here. Welcome back, Jason.
Good to see you, Pete. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you. So as I was reporting this, I was grabbing this. As you know, I'm a fan of your work. I'm actually getting a lot of information from you. You cover a broad range of stories, but this particular one, I understand you've been working with Imran Awan for the better part of 2 years. Give us a little bit of background and history, especially for those people that don't know why it's important that this guy should not be working at his Clinton-linked attorney's law firm.
It's a great question. I first became aware of the Awan brothers and Imran Awan from watching George Webb on YouTube, and George and I were working together very closely for a while. We've parted ways. George continues his investigation. I'm doing it my way, which is different, of course, and that's great. Everybody's working on it, and that information can come together when it does. I became really particularly interested in Imran's lawyer, who is Chris Gowan, when his law firm released a press release after Imran's arrest, which I guess would have been July or August of 2017. And the press release was just filled with what seemed to me like nonsense. They said that this was all Islamophobia and that the Pizzagate media had something to do with these what Mr. Gowan felt were trumped up charges. And of course I disagreed with this tremendously, because we had seen reports on Fox and in the Daily Caller and in various outlets like that Imran's own stepmother had filed a police report stating that he had threatened her, that he had locked her in the house, hacked her cell phone, threatened to kidnap and kill her relatives in Pakistan, said he's very powerful in Pakistan. George Webb has presented a ton of evidence that Imran Awan is possibly a member of the Pakistani ISI, which is their intelligence service. He's a member of an elite group there called the 111th Division. And the U.S. Capitol Police barred him from accessing the congressional network because he had like thousands of illegal logins. And he's been accused of warehousing stolen congressional data, which, I believe we have found the location where he had it. Part of what I'm trying to do with Crowdsource the Truth is to interface with the audience and with witnesses and various people who maybe have firsthand experience. One of those people was a renter who rented a home from Imran Awan at 4809 Sprayer Street. That was Laurel Everly. She's been on my program a number of times, and she gave us some photographs from her cell phone that showed a cable router in the basement. And we confirmed with Cox Cable that this was a high-speed internet connection. You can tell from the photograph that it's cable internet because there's a white coaxial cable stapled along the baseboard. There's a splitter here. It's a very standard cable internet hookup, and it goes into the router. It's plugged into the wall, and it's plugged in by an RJ45 cable leading to the adjacent shed, which Laurel Everly told us she witnessed Imran Awan accessing on multiple occasions. Laurel had no access to the shed. She asked him if the light in the shed could be turned off, and he refused to do that, according to Laurel, because Imran said the light was on an air conditioner and the contents of the shed needed to be kept cool. Now, this confluence of evidence leads me to believe, Pete, that he may well have been keeping a temperature-sensitive server in that shed. Obviously, if you have a computer running 24/7, if it overheats, it shuts off. So that would make sense to have an air-conditioned room there. And Imran, of course, was arrested for mortgage fraud, and he's being charged with bank fraud. None of the hacking or espionage charges have been brought against him. And of course, we did a report on Crowdsource the Truth called Hidden Network Topology at 4809 Sprayer Street, and literally, that was September 12th, 2017, and the Washington Post, despite having interviewed Laurel Everly 3 weeks prior, didn't do anything until the day after our report. The day after we ran Hidden Network Topology at 4809 Sprayer Street, Sean Boberg of the Washington Post had a WAPO photographer take this beautiful fashion photograph, soft focus, shallow depth of field, very luscious bokeh, as we call that in photography, where the background is out of focus. And I believe that was done to mask the fact that this photograph was taken right outside Gowan, Silva, and Winograd, which is Imran's lawyer. And we've just discovered very recently that Imran appears to be working there. And again, that discovery was made as a part of the whole process of Crowdsource the Truth. I called Imran's lawyer yet again to speak with him about what he had blamed me for, this incident of inadvertent disclosure. In addition to the photographic evidence of a high-speed internet account at 4809 Sprayer Street, Laurel also had her laptop and her cell phone, which she believed had been hacked. And the reason she believed this was that the laptop had gone missing for 3 or 4 days at one point, and Laurel lived in the house with her adult daughter, and the daughter never used that laptop, never touched the laptop. Imran had the keys to the house. He would come and go 2 to 3 times per week, which, Pete, you've rented houses. That seems like a really high frequency for the landlord to come by, particularly when he's supposed to be working full-time in the IT department of Congress, earning 2.5 times the average salary of anybody working there. So that seemed quite anomalous to me that Imran would be coming over so often. But after going totally missing for 3 days, and how does somebody just lose their laptop? It's not the type of thing that you lose. It showed up, and it was just on her bed, sitting there on the bed. And it was after that sending out strange emails to Laurel's friends. People would contact her and say, hey, I think you've been hacked. So in about September of 2017, I drove Laurel to the U.S. Capitol Police, where we gave them the laptop and submitted it as evidence. Now, Chris told me that when I saw him at a progress hearing for Imran Awan, Chris told me that I had somehow screwed up the case because of this inadvertent disclosure. Now, I'm just a civilian, Pete. I don't really have the ability to control what the police do with evidence, but when I spoke to Mr. Gowan outside of the courthouse, he was very aggressive in how he spoke to me. He said, oh, we'll wait until you see what you did to screw up this case, Jason.
You know what, Jason, if you don't mind, can I pull that clip up right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want people to see your approach, especially to this guy. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, there's a huge connection here to the Clintons, and Jason will get into that. But listen to this interaction with this attorney.
No, thanks. 4809 Sprayer was one of the homes bought with the fraudulent bank loans. What did he have in the shed at 4809 Sprayer?
No idea what you're even talking about, man.
You don't know about 4809 Sprayer, Chris?
What I do know, Jason, is that there's a United States attorney on this case.
Uh-huh.
So that's called a prosecutor, right?
Right.
And so what this prosecutor does is he investigates crimes.
Right.
And they've been investigating these crimes for over a year.
What about the Clinton Foundation crimes? They've been investigating those even longer, and nothing's happened.
And there's
you
been
worked
no.
for the Clinton Foundation.
So you seem to
you?
ask one question,
yeah,
and then when
I know
I started
you're not
giving you an
gonna
answer that you
what was in the shed at
when I started
4809
giving you the
Sprayer,
answer
Chris?
you don't like, you obviously nothing, Jason.
Well, you're
because they would've
obfuscating.
had-
I don't think nothing. Why did he have a
This is the problem,
Cox? Why did he have a
Jason.
Cox cable account at a house
This is
he
the
never
problem
lived
with
at that he bought
your
with a fraudulent
independent
loan?
reporting little
Tell me.
stuff you do.
Tell me.
There's obviously nothing in this shed or whatever you're talking about.
Why did he
because
visit it
there are
every
no
2 or 3
charges.
days?
Why are there no, Jason? There's no charges against him except for stating that one property wasn't his primary residence. That's what.
Can
this
you
case
show
is
me
about.
his Uber account?
Feeds it up.
Because, you know, he said in court that Imran was driving for Uber and that he needed to have his GPS ankle bracelet removed because he needs to drive more than 50 miles for Uber. Now, interestingly, I did do a radio interview. I meant to tell you, Pete, I'm sorry. I did a radio interview this morning with Lee Stranahan, and Lee pointed out that 50 miles is a huge distance to go in Uber. I mean, I use Uber all the time, sometimes to go to the airport. 50 miles to an airport, particularly when you're talking about Washington, D.C. and Alexandria, Virginia and Lorton and stuff, there's a lot of airports that are less than 50 miles, and you could still drive for Uber with that 50-mile radius. Problem is, there was never any proof presented that Imran worked for Uber, and I believe the Daily Caller checked. Uber said they had no records of that. In this, walk and talk street interview, or whatever we want to call it, Chris Gowan refused to show me the Uber account. He said he would show it to a real news outlet like CNN, but not to Crowdsource the Truth, because he felt that I'm sharing fake news. I disagree, of course, but we've never seen that Uber account or any evidence that indicates that Imran worked for Uber. Chris did offer to sell me evidence in the case in a phone call that we had just the other day. You heard me reference Chris's experience with the Clinton Foundation, and that's well known. That's a documented relationship that Chris had with the Clintons. I asked him at the end of that interview that you just showed what he was doing at the Clinton Foundation, and he told me that he delivered Diet Coke to President Clinton. Now, I don't know if he was joking. I don't know if that's a euphemism. I do know that Roger Clinton is on an FBI hidden video recording and audio recording just prior to his arrest for cocaine trafficking, where he said he needs to buy some extra for his brother, Bill, who has a nose like a vacuum cleaner. So I don't know if Diet Coke is code, or if Chris was joking, or if he actually brought the soft drink to the president, but he was very contentious in each of our conversations, and he does not want to talk about what was in the shed at 4809 Sprayer Street. I think there was a server.
Yes, sir. And based on the evidence that you've already collected thus far, especially with that one the one witness, it sounds like that he had her computer doing some dirty work behind the scenes. Now, Gowan is the founding partner of Gowan, Rhodes, Winograd, and Silva, offices in D.C., Philadelphia, and Penn. His own bio says he left the public defender's office to work for former President William Jefferson Clinton and then Senator Hillary Clinton. This guy is just a straight-up Clinton crony hack, correct?
I think so. And I would also add that the firm has changed its name to Gowan, Silva, Winograd. Mark Rhodes has left the firm. And I noticed just the other day that the website changed. I went to the Internet Archive, and you can see the old Gowan, Rhodes, Winograd, Silva back in like March or February or March timeframe. They changed the name, so I would presume that Mark Rhodes left the firm in that time frame. I did speak with Mark Rhodes, and he did not want to comment or go on record as to why he left the firm. I don't know if it had anything to do with them taking on Imran Awan as a client, but it's certainly interesting that he's gone. And the one other thing I want to add about Laurel's evidence, when we brought it to the U.S. Capitol Police, this inadvertent disclosure that Chris was talking about in our street interview, the Capitol Police brought it to his law firm, which is the defense. They basically took the evidence and brought it to the suspect rather than the prosecution. I've now spoken to multiple law enforcement professionals who say that is totally not anything that ever happens, absolutely improper, and some people have even speculated it could prompt a mistrial.
Now, if you don't mind, in the essence of time, because I want to cover some of the other stories that I want to allow for that time, but I want to pop through a couple of important points here. Reports on the Daily Caller back in April said that the Pakistani mystery man, this Imran Awan, Awan's father transferred data to the Pakistani government, an ex-partner claims. So a lot of anomalies that exist. And also, here's another thing is that, why is it, of course, that somebody connected to the Clinton camp has a family member where we're tracking whether or not these guys are connected to the ISI, the intelligence services in Pakistan. But why did the FBI let a congressional hacking suspect actually leave the country? All of these anomalies, of course, and now we know that this Clinton-connected firm, this Gowan firm, I have actually the clip, if you don't mind me playing it, I want to show everybody that you actually went to Gowan and you actually spoke to Mr.
Gowan,
Awan.
Winograd, and Silva.
Let me play through this.
To apologize to Chris for anything that might have happened on the phone call that was, less than nice. Let's see where it goes. Hi, is Chris Gowan in?
Who's calling, please?
This is Jason Goodman. I got into a little bit of an argument with him last week, and I wanted to apologize if he's willing to speak with me.
He's in the court right now.
In the court? Oh, all right. All right, I'll call back later. Thanks.
Here you are at the door. I just sped up a little bit.
Yep. This is actually Jesse Winograd who I speak with.
Okay, and this is after that telephone call where Imran Awan answered the phone, correct?
He's answered the phone twice. I've spoken to Imran on the phone twice now.
And
I
here
spoke
he
to him
comes.
once in the street, but he didn't speak back to me.
How you doing, Jesse?
Good. What's up? You got something for me?
Well, yeah, I wanted to give it to Imran. Is he here?
What the heck is this?
That's a picture.
Of what?
Well, that right there is a Cox cable internet router. Can I come in and talk to you about it?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't feel like talking to you today.
Is Imran here?
He is. Why?
Because it sounds like he's answering your phones.
What's your point?
Is he working for you?
Go away.
Go
Is he, or
away.
is he-
Go away.
He didn't say no.
Don't bother me. And you literally recorded that call out in the parking lot as you were walking up to the building, right?
Yeah. And he had also answered on Friday. So here's the important factor here. So Imran, we've established, does seem to be working at Gowan, Silva, Winograd. The photograph in September was taken right outside the office. Now, did they call Imran over, or was he conveniently sitting there answering the phones and just stepped outside? The biggest question, Pete, is if Imran is in their office and this evidence of a hacked computer goes to their office, did the defendant have his hands on the evidence before the prosecutor? I don't know, but it certainly raises some questions. I mean, this is absolutely improper.
Absolutely. And, unfortunately, from my personal experience, when he was referring so affectionately to the prosecution, with him being the defense attorney, we know that unfortunately, the judiciary is heavily rigged, especially beginning at the top when they stacked the entire judiciary with their activist judges in the federal court system. So, sir,
you've been on the business end of that, haven't you, Pete?
Yes, unfortunately. Well, I won't call myself a victim. I'm certainly not a victim in any sense. We're actually helping to expose the truth, and that's what was done through my experience. But, sir, all of these anomalies with Imran Awan, you have been on this story. Is this man going to be exposed, do you think, through uncovering, because this is directly connected as well to the Clinton email investigation? We now have a report coming up here within the next 48 hours. Do you think that information about this Imran Awan, his hacking through the DNC, his connections to Clinton, will be exposed in this IG report? Do you think it will?
It's difficult for me to say, but I mean, there's certainly a ton of anomalies in how these guys are dealing with data. Fred Edwards in my live chat is reminding me that Imran was working on the DNC server from Pakistan. So either through, some sort of remote connection, he's able to get in there. I mean, the details are obviously difficult to speculate about, but he's got this unprecedented level of access. He had Debbie Wasserman Schultz's password for her iPad. We heard about that in the WikiLeaks emails. So, I mean, this is a guy who had really high-level access to all kinds of data. We've got his own stepmother saying he's hacking her devices, threatening her, blackmailing her. I think this shows a pattern, a practice of how this guy operates. And for Chris Gowan to act the way that he acts, I mean, look, my very first call with Chris Gowan, I just called up, in my view, he started it by putting out this press release that says the Pizzagate media has done something to, have his client be persecuted or whatever it is that he thinks is happening, was just absolutely absurd. I think that a competent lawyer, someone unlike Chris Gowan, could have gotten on the phone with me and said, look, you know what? The man's innocent until he's proven guilty. Everyone in the United States of America has a right to a legal defense, and what we are going to do is explore all of the evidence and defend Mr. Awan's rights. and allow the judge, the prosecution, and the jury to decide what's going on. Instead, he went on the attack in this bizarre, I mean, he's using fiction to attack. He's saying that Pizzagate Media has something to do with this. He's attacked President Trump multiple times. It's just absurd the way that he's acting. I mean, he's derided me for thinking President Trump is a hero. Well, he's the president of the United States of America. Of course, I want him to be a hero. I want him to make America great again, and I think he performed excellently with Kim Jong-un at the Singapore summit last night. So I'm feeling very good about President Trump, certainly much better than I feel about Imran Awan or Chris Gowan.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I want to go back to the comment
Sure.
that you made about, and by the way, I'm full-blown Trumpian. I'm very well established in support of everything the guy's been doing. I believe he's doing a lot of stuff on behalf of we the people. We sent them there with a mandate to do exactly what he's doing. Hopefully this week we get good results with this investigation on the Russia thing. But go back to that comment you made about the attorney offering in a secret recording, offering to sell you evidence. Talk about that,
Sure.
and then look gears to some more stories.
Absolutely. It actually wasn't even a secret recording. At the top of the phone call, he asks if I'm recording, and I say yes. So he's consenting to being recorded when he says that, and people can hear this this phone interview or whatever you want to call it on the Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channel. But he basically, on 2 occasions during the phone call, tries to lure me into a wager for $1,000, betting on the outcome of the trial, betting on whether or not Imran had an Uber account, as he claimed. And he then, I mean, it's absurd to think that a lawyer would do that. But, I mean, this is the way this guy operates. So he... Sorry, wait a minute. I just totally got lost. You're saying that what was it that you wanted me to cover?
So talk about him offering you money for evidence. Is that correct?
Right. So he said he would sell me the evidence. He used those words. He says, come down to the office and give me $1,000 and I'll give you the evidence. You can buy the evidence, is what he said. And I even reacted by saying, buy the evidence? I mean, it's absolutely absurd. Lawyers are not allowed to sell evidence to people. I mean, why the guy would say that on a phone call is totally bizarre. Why he would say it on a phone call that he knows is being recorded, it just makes no sense. Have these guys spent so many years just operating with impunity, doing whatever the hell they want, irrespective of the law, that they just, I mean, it seems like something like a 10-year-old would say, I'll sell you the evidence. I bet you $1,000 he has an Uber account. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, he's brazen in his
This attorney certainly is a piece of work, and obviously by having this guy working in his office, obviously has some ethical issues.
Right. Well, that's it. That's what you've hit it right there, Pete. What we're getting at is this collection of behavior really demonstrates Chris Gowan's lack of ethics, and that was apparent to me from the very first press release. Like I said, I think a competent attorney could have put out a competent press release that said, right now these are allegations and everybody deserves a fair defense and we believe that Mr. Awan behaved appropriately, or whatever he's going to say. But to come out with all this like hyperbolic nonsense and blame Donald Trump and Pizzagate for Imran Awan getting arrested for bank fraud, which he did commit, that's tied to all these other crimes, it's just egregious.
Please allow me to do the following. I found a nice list, and I want to remind our listening audience, especially if it's the first time you've even heard of this story, or maybe you heard the name, but you don't know the significance of it. I'm going to pop through a couple of important details. The Awan Group the Awan Group was left on the House Computer Network until February 2nd, days after Donald Trump's inauguration. That was actually found. It was a signature stamp. During the 2016 election, the House's Office of Inspector General warned that Imran and his family were making unauthorized access to data. Shortly after the IG report came out in 2016, the Caucus server, identified as primary evidence in that cyber security case, physically disappeared. That server has been gone. Wasserman Schultz declined to fire Imran. His entire family was on the payroll earning high wages, and they're all supposedly connected to the Pakistani intelligence services. And now we've got FBI, the corrupt, of course, highly biased in favor of the Clinton FBI leadership, allowing his family members to actually depart the country. And they're under investigation for, I would say, they're part of a international spy ring, having hacked into the congressional servers. Sir, and
I would agree.
Jump.
No, I would agree, Pete. The other thing I would suggest is that you might want to try calling up Chris Gowan and offering him $1,000. You might be able to buy that server. It seems like evidence is on sale over there at Gowan, Silva, and Winograd, and Chris really needs $1,000 for something. I don't know what.
This is great work, Jason. Let's segue here in the remaining moments of this visit. Thanks for taking the time out. I know how busy you are. You're just finishing some interviews out of DC, some important ones. I know you're working closely with Larry Klayman, who's actually a DC insider that's giving you a lot of information. Talk about the work that you do, some of these important stories you're working on right now that everyone needs to know about, and follow on your channel, Crowdsource the Truth.
Sure. Well, Larry is fantastic. I met Larry at the Bundy trial, which, of course, you were pivotally involved in all of that. And Larry and I have become good friends. He's been on the show many times. He gives me great insights into some of the legal aspects of what's going on. Larry, of course, is
Did you know, by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you know that I introduced Larry Klayman to Clive and Bundy when I saw that?
I did not. That's
had
great.
Family members being assaulted, abused, guns pointed at him. I actually took Larry Klayman out to introduce him to Clive and Bundy, and then ended up, of course, meeting with him in rooms in Pahrump in a blue jumpsuit.
Thankfully, won't go into that. Right. You're talking about the jail in Pahrump, right?
Yes,
right,
sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. But anyways, Larry Klayman's working very aggressively as a DC insider. He's gone after the Clintons. He is the prosecutor's prosecutor, isn't he?
He's great. He is.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the rare opportunity to actually see Larry in court, and I mean, it was like watching Michael Jordan or something like that. Larry right now has a campaign going. He wants to become the new special counsel to get rid of Robert Mueller, and people can visit his website, freedomwatchusa.org, and sign that petition. Larry does tremendous work, and he's helping a lot of clients pro bono, including the Bundys. So I always like to promote Larry's website and what Larry is doing, because it's there's not that many lawyers out there, and when we see somebody like Chris Gowan, there's not that many lawyers out there with integrity. Larry is one of them. So I really want people to go to his website and support what he's doing. I've been following Larry. That court case was a FOIA suit where Larry is trying to get Mueller's special counsel office to turn over all of its communications with the press. Larry believes that Mueller's office has been leaking grand jury information to the press, which would be illegal and would shut down Mueller right away. So it was a combination of it was like watching a chess game, a poker game, a Broadway show. I mean, his interaction with the judge was masterful, and the considerably younger attorney who was representing Mueller's office was so, I never met the guy outside of that courtroom, so I don't know how his normal demeanor is, but he looked rattled to me, and Larry wasn't even speaking to him. Just his demeanor in the courtroom was so dominating this much younger guy that he was just outclassed in every possible way. So hopefully when September rolls around...
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. He's extremely fearless. I actually came into contact with him when he was representing the family members of SEAL Team 6, Extortion 17, and he went after the Pentagon covering up the details of that, and that's where I was introduced to him. So that's those are great series that you're putting out there. What other important stories are you covering right now? The Clinton Foundation is an important one, and that's a timely discussion. What are you doing in that regard?
That's quite possibly the most important work that I'm doing, the work with Charles Ortel, and I've been really privileged to meet Charles and become very good friends with Charles as well. We've been doing this show Sunday with Charles that people can see every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Crowdsource the Truth, where Charles basically details the insane criminality of the Clinton Foundation and the various Clinton associates. We have a lot of great guests on there, FBI whistleblowers like Robin Gritz, former law enforcement individuals like Thomas Paine from True Pundit. We've had CIA whistleblowers on there. We've had Harmon Wilfred, famous authors, famous journalists. I mean, Charles is just a national treasure. He's like no other as far as his expertise in the financial crimes of the Clinton Foundation. He's a complex fraud investigator, and of course, for many, many years, he was, a financial wizard there on Wall Street. I guess he was, I don't know exactly what, I should know this, but he was just, a money machine on Wall Street. So Charles's brain is like a supercomputer, and there is nobody who knows more about the Clinton Foundation than Charles Ortel. And I do believe when history is written, and hopefully the Clintons and their cohorts are finally brought to justice, people are going to know that that's largely because of Charles Ortel. So I'm privileged to be able to assist him in bringing that message to people and providing a platform that allows him to basically provide it to prosecutors and investigators around the world. He's sort of taken all the evidence and put it in that one place to really push the prosecution through. And it seems to be working. There's definitely, we see things in the news now that seem to be receiving information from Charles. So it's great.
You say that you refer to their conduct as insane criminality. What's even more insane is their ability to remain immune from prosecution.
Yes.
It's so frustrating. Right now, I think we're sitting on a powder keg of very frustrated people. I'm certainly hoping that this IG report that's coming out on Thursday is the death knell in their coffin, and it fully exposes them, and that hopefully one day soon them and their cabal will be held accountable. I hope that happens one day soon here.
Yeah, I hope you're right, Pete. And the thing that I believe is unique about Crowdsource the Truth is that I don't present myself as this one guy who knows everything and is telling everybody everything. I go around to everybody that I believe is credible, and I like to get their story and their information. And so in the case of the two highly esteemed guys that you've just mentioned, we've got Charles Ortel and we've got Larry Klayman. They totally disagree on what to expect from the Horowitz report. Larry has very low confidence that the report will have any teeth to it, and Charles is pointing to indicators that it will, in fact, spur prosecution. So I'm not sure what will happen, but it's always fascinating to me to get the insights and opinions of these extremely experienced and educated guys. I've done a lot of work with Dr. Jerome Corsi, and Charles and I have done a couple of interviews with him. Dr. Corsi has tremendous insights, but it's kind of unrealistic to expect that any one person is going to know everything about everything. So by bringing all these different people and all these different entities together, I think that Crowdsource the Truth really offers everybody watching a unique opportunity to, crowdsource these things.
Before we get to the one area and as I said, I've actually started out by, as an info consumer of your channel, but the one area with Quinn Michaels seems so in-depth. Unfortunately, I haven't taken the time out, but he appears to be very intriguing. We'll finish on Quinn Michaels.
Quinn is fantastic.
When did you start delving into 9/11 evidence? Because that's where I started getting in trouble. The
Right.
day that I started covering that as a radio talk show host, my troll life changed, and I didn't know what was coming at me. But now I know exactly where they come from. When did you start delving into 9/11 evidence?
Well, the 9/11 stuff, I witnessed 9/11 from the roof of my apartment building and watched the World Trade Center burn with my own eyes. I have friends who were killed in the building, and I've been very affected by 9/11. I can't quite say it's been a central focus of Crowdsource the Truth, merely because it happened quite a while ago. When I first started, I did make some videos. One of the first videos I did was about the petrodollar and its impact on U.S. foreign policy today and 9/11. I've been very fascinated by the evidence of nanothermite at the site. I've been very fascinated by the anomalous evidence at the Pentagon. In my view, a jumbo jet did not hit the Pentagon. Something other than a jumbo jet hit the Pentagon. I've been fascinated by Bob Graham's 28-page Senate Intelligence Committee report. But really the focus of the 9/11 stuff has been the interviews I've done with Field McConnell and David Hawkins of Able Danger. Quinn and I have focused. I first became aware of Quinn just from watching YouTube as well. And Quinn, of course, is an artificial intelligence expert and has a son named Trenton who was kidnapped by his mother, who is part of a cult. And so Quinn and I have been looking at evidence and connections between various factions of the Process Church. So things like this Nexium cult and perhaps the Manson family and some of these other things seem to be offshoots of this Process Church. And Quinn has just an amazing mind. People can see his channel, Quinn Michaels, on YouTube. He's always doing tons of interesting research, and Quinn and I have a regular show on Crowdsource the Truth every Saturday, and we sometimes meet up around the country and do other shows beyond just Saturdays. But I really enjoy working with Quinn. He is just fascinating, and he's a genius. He's his mind works in ways that I think a lot of people maybe have difficulty understanding. So one of the things that I find I'm pretty good at is interfacing with people like Quinn who are super geniuses. And that's not to say that I think I'm a super genius, but somehow I'm able to, talk to these guys and understand what they're saying and kind of ask the questions that the regular people are thinking. So a lot of people have told me that they can follow Quinn's thought process even better when we do the shows together. And we've been exploring particle colliders. Quinn gets very into quantum physics. And I mean, Pete, some of the things that are coming out of his research and the research that we're doing together are absolutely fascinating. And the thing that's really most interesting about Quinn is that he'll come out with a statement like, there's an underground city that's doing all these experiments with element 93 that's magnetic and radioactive and liquid metals, superconductor, and people just say, well, that's crazy. But then, Quinn said to me, okay, you want to go there and see it? And we went to the deep underground neutrino experiment in South Dakota, and not only is it there, they're telling you it's there. There's a science museum on top of it that we went to. And then I also went, with Quinn on Skype, I went to Fermilab in just outside Chicago, where they're actually shooting neutrinos through the crust of the Earth to South Dakota, to the deep underground neutrino experiment site at the speed of light, where they are received over there. And Quinn speculates that they are creating a light speed communications network to basically form a planet-scale quantum computing environment to run the most powerful artificial intelligence brain in the world.
Yes, and they have been doing mind mapping. Quantum computing, I think, is the only limitation is the speed of computers, but quantum computing will allow them, with that processing power, as they've attempted to do, like facial recognition is old school. This is just from layman's understanding. They started doing mind mapping, and from what I understand, they're now interested in doing soul mapping.
Wow.
Our interconnectivity of our soul. Yes, and this is coming out of CERN. I've seen some of their white papers, the experimentation that's going on. But sir, Quinn Michaels, he's not a doom and gloomer, I noticed, but he talks about the out of control power of artificial intelligence in the wrong hands, does he not?
Absolutely. I mean, Quinn is on the right side of the good versus evil battle, and he's pointing out that there are evil people who want to use this technology to do things that good people wouldn't like. Just last Saturday on our most recent episode, Quinn pointed out to me that MIT has released the first psychopathic artificial intelligence, and they've named it Norman, like after Norman Bates. And my question was, well, why on earth would anyone want a psychopathic artificial intelligence? And obviously the answer to that question is purely speculative, but I mean, every time I speak to Quinn, he's got something fascinating to tell me, and he's a unique individual. People should really tune in and check out what he's talking about.
Absolutely. Now, we have just enough time here. I want you to talk about the tremendous work that you and Laura Loomer on the ground out there in Las Vegas talk about anomalous occurrences out there with that investigation. She's still exposing herself, and I'm sure you see that. I don't know how much work you're continuing to do on the Mandalay Bay shooting in Las Vegas. Talk about your work in that regard. Tell everybody what they need to know about that, and then finish up by telling everyone where we can get in touch with you online.
Sure. Well, I mean, in my view, Laura is absolutely the tip of the spear on the Las Vegas investigation. I don't believe there's anyone that's been more effective or has uncovered more or has done more to contradict the false narrative being put forth by the FBI and the Las Vegas Metro PD. Remember, Laura was in there at the first press conference where she presented the valet parking receipt that showed that Sheriff Lombardo was lying about the check-in date. And the most recently released police documents indicate that the police knew that and that Lombardo was just straight lying. So, I mean, Laura's like a bulldog in the best possible way as far as being a journalist. And it's amazing to me, she's only just turned 25. So here we have this young woman who is challenging the entire law enforcement apparatus of Clark County and the FBI. And these are the same FBI guys that were involved in all the shenanigans at the standoff and the Bundys and all that. So Laura is incredibly brave. And, she, like you, like I, when you put yourself out there, you expose yourself to a lot of insults and a lot of attacks online. And I mean, Laura is like nobody else I know in that she's just out there doing it. And right now she's pointing out, more things that Lombardo has been up to, more lies that have been associated with the Las Vegas shooting of October 1st, covering up of Stephen Paddock's bank account being frozen for terror financing. Who knows what went on at Las Vegas, but there's nobody doing more work and a better job of getting to the bottom of it than Laura Loomer. And I mean, this is what journalism is supposed to be about. Someone, I should know whose quote this is, but someone said that journalism is asking people questions that they don't want to answer. Everything else is public relations. So Laura's certainly doing that. And it was actually at a LVMPD press conference that someone from a Fox affiliate or the Las Vegas Review-Journal or something like that came up to Laura and said, I love the work that you're doing. We can't ask the questions that you're asking because MGM is our biggest sponsor. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about crowdsource the truth. It's not only are we using the power of social media to reach out to the witnesses and to the people with evidence and all that, we are totally avoiding any kind of corporate sponsorship. I haven't even monetized on YouTube because I'm reluctant to allow Google to have any kind of financial control. Part of what I'm doing to try to build Crowdsource the Truth is reaching out to the community for sponsorship. And they're not donations, they're not contributions. Donations are made to charities. This is individual sponsorship. And again, I don't want anyone to sponsor my news channel for an amount of money that puts them in any kind of financial crunch. But we've got like 59,500 viewers, subscribers on YouTube. And if 10% of those people gave $1 or $5 a month, the company would be financially healthy and I'd be able to continue to do this type of journalism, going around and asking the questions that Chris Gowan doesn't want answered. And I'm not doing it because I don't like Chris Gowan. I don't know the guy personally. I don't think he and I would get along. But I'm asking these questions because I suspect that he's lying and I want to get to the bottom of it. If Imran Awan is innocent, let's let the facts stand and show him to be innocent. But let's not obfuscate the facts. You know, Thomas Thomas Paine of True Pundit told me, Pete, that the only way the evidence could have gone from the U.S. Capitol Police to Chris Gowan's office is if someone from Gowan, Silva, and Winograd somehow intervened. And something that I did not publish yesterday is that after I left Gowan, Silva, and Winograd, I went right over to the U.S. Capitol Police to ask them, basically, WTF? What happened to the evidence? How did it get there? And they kept me waiting around for a while. They had me talk to somebody. They looked me up. They knew the town that I grew up in. They were investigating me, but they can't figure out how the evidence got to the suspect rather than the prosecutor. They told me someone would call me. That was well more than 24 hours ago, and there has been no call. So this is obviously not a priority for the U.S. Capitol Police. And I want to put some pressure on them. They need to tell us what the hell is going on. If this guy's hacking Congress, he needs to go to jail for a long time, if not the rest of his life.
Yeah, but he's got Wasserman Schultz and the Clintons on his side. Jason, of course. So no matter what happens, he'll never have been held accountable.
Right.
Just like that's why we need to take the head of the snake out. But Jason, I thank you so much. Most importantly, for the work that you've been doing, as you said, crowdsourcing the truth. It's so important that we, the people, come together. We freely associate, assemble, and finance this thing so that we can get the answers to the questions that so many of us have. And we're not beholden to Viagra commercials on CNN, on
Absolutely.
big pharma commercials. When's the last time you heard about the effects of psychotropic drugs on people? Because in the mainstream media, on these shooters, these school shooters, you're not going to hear because big pharma's financing them. They get the telephone call. Stay away from that. But sir, Crowdsource the Truth is your YouTube channel.
Yes.
Where else can we find you? Is that the best way to get in touch with you? We'll put the links in today's description box.
Yeah, if people go to crowdsourcethetruth.org, that will take you to the Facebook group. I haven't made a web page. I mean, it's just me running the whole company, so maintaining a web page is difficult. I've focused very much on the Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channel, as well as periscope.tv/CS The Truth. Periscope and YouTube are very important to me. We've got a Patreon account that is patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. That gets the same live streams from Vimeo. So what I've been trying to do is to diversify so that we're not totally reliant. For instance, we had a troll attack on the YouTube channel. So the main Crowdsource the Truth YouTube channel for the next 5 days, we're coming to the end of a 3-month ban, wasn't able to live stream. And there are a lot of people out there who know how to manipulate the algorithms of YouTube. They control thousands of sock puppet accounts. They buy thousands of downvotes, so videos that contain important evidence are maybe not showing up in searches as much as they should or could.
Suppress a video like this one we sent out to millions of people, believe it or not, and that was suppressed because of the title. We know that Silicon Valley is actually suppressing the truth. So anyways, I thought I'd bring that up because that happened to us today. Did it not? It did. Yes, I'm being told. But that's okay.
All the time.
That doesn't stop us because through people power, we can share this information. We can overcome. Silicon Valley is not going to be, they're not going to be the central, they're not going to be the center of our world. If they're suppressing the truth, we just roll up our sheepskin and we go elsewhere. That's what the mass of humanity will end up doing when they realize what Silicon Valley's doing, at the behest, of course, of the people in Washington D.C.
Right.
Yep. Right.
Absolutely, Pete.
All right, Jason, if you don't mind, I want to invite you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, okay? Because I know everyone enjoyed this conversation that you and I had. I want to share you with my listening audience. That when you have an important story, I want to invite you to come back on, speak to our listening audience, and then of course we will. And this is a matter of us coming together in independent media, for us all to freely assemble in a free and an open society. We want a good life for our families. We want the truth. We want freedom of religion. We want to stop global Islamic terrorism, like Laura Loomer's trying to conquer part-time and in her busy schedule, right?
Yep.
We want all of these good things for us, we the people. And that's why I want to be so sharing. So will you come back on when there is an important story?
Absolutely, Pete. I love working with you, and you and I are developing a friendship. You know, it's interesting, and I know that you have this experience as well. Whoever you invite on your show, you're going to get people emailing you, oh, Jason is this, Jason is that, don't have him on. And then other people, you know, people love me, people hate me. That happens for everyone. So that's part of the reason why I like doing Crowdsource the Truth, because I want to hear from everyone. But just simply saying, oh, well, you know, Jason Goodman is Mossad, or Jason Goodman is this or that, that is moronic. If people have evidence of things, I'm delighted to see it. And Pete, I would be delighted to be back on your show. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me.
Everybody stay tuned for more continuing coverage. Thank you so much, Jason. More continuing coverage here. I say coverage, more content by our host here on Liberty One TV. Stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. on the Pete Santilli Show. Bye, everybody.